went west, and then we went up. We're going down into the oceans. The time to explore is changing. For us to explore, we must not just explore outer space, but we must, as Americans, explore inner space. We must look inside of ourselves and look at what we truly believe. The Lord will always send a people wake-up calls. And He has been sending us wake-up call after wake-up call after a wake-up call. And it has been through the Republicans and the Democrats. It's all of us. All of us. He has been sending us wake-up calls. And you can send two kinds of wake-up calls. One through fear, like 9/11. 9/11 woke us up, and we stood shoulder to shoulder for a very short period of time. Politics didn't matter. Color didn't matter. It didn't matter if you were poor or you were rich. We were Americans together. Beyond that, we were God's human creation standing together. But fear only wakes you up for a very short time. I know that many in this country think that I'm a fearmonger. It is not a label that I think applies. I do talk about frightening things, but I don't think the man who saw the iceberg as the Titanic was about to hit it and said, "It's an iceberg," was a fearmonger. He was warning the people on the ship. Waking people up through fear only will awaken them for a very short period of time, as we all found out with 9/11. Do you not think the apostles, while waiting in the Garden of Gethsemane, were afraid? Jesus asked them, "Just watch with me for an hour." He prayed and he came back, and they were asleep. The enemies were lighting torches and gathering their swords. And they said, "Sorry, we'll do better next time." And they didn't. 1, 2, 3 times. "Can you not watch with me for 1 hour?" The response is, "The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." Well, what do we do? They weren't awake. They weren't awake until after the resurrection. And then they knew. And they never went to sleep again. It wasn't the fear of death. It was the resurrection that kept them awake. We must, as a people, strengthen our spirit. I ask you, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Americans, we are all Americans. We all must realize how nice we have it here, despite all of our problems. We must recognize the great things that we have done, while noticing as well, so we can learn from the lessons, all of the bad things that we have done. Know them, so we never repeat the same mistake. But we must make a choice today. I gave a 40-day challenge on the air 40 days ago today. I asked you to do three things: faith, hope, and charity. In your own life, I asked you, pray on your knees. Not just pray, but pray on your knees. Recognize your place to the Creator. Recognize that He is our King, and He is the one that guides and directs our life and protects us. I ask not only if you would pray on your knees, but pray on your knees with the door open for your children to see. Not only pray with them, but let them see their father or their mother humbled by God in prayer. That which they gaze upon, they will become. The second thing I ask you to do, for hope, tell the truth. Tell the truth. And it only matters when you tell the truth and you know it's going to hurt you. You know that it's not going to help your side. Tell the truth. America is crying out for the truth. Tell the truth in your own life and then expect it from others. And the third, I asked you 40 days ago to do for charity. Connect with your family, your spouse, and your children. Give them extra time. Give them extra attention. Charity begins at home first. My challenge to you today is to make a choice. Does America go forward and the American experience expands, or does the experiment fail with us? Make the choice. And then, if you answer as I do, look to the top of the Washington Memorial, the Washington Monument. Praise be to God. My favorite line in the Declaration of Independence is, with firm reliance on divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Let that phrase be our guide as they put on the top of the monument, as Thomas Jefferson said, if you really want to share the truth, embed it into architecture. The truth is on the walls here. The truth is on the top of the monument. But it's also in our founding documents. What is the answer? Do you think they were just using the wrong size font when they said, "We the people"? Do you think somebody was like, "Hey, you got to size that down a bit, it'll not fit on the page"? That was code. They knew we would forget. And at the end of the Declaration of Independence, it is our guide out. With firm reliance on divine providence. Step one, with firm reliance on divine providence. How? How can you possibly have firm reliance if you don't know what you believe? If you're just doing it because your family has done it. If you're just doing it because it's what we do. If you haven't, as Thomas Jefferson said, question with boldness even the very existence of God. For if there be a God, he must surely rather honest questioning over blindfolded fear. Blindfolded fear does not lead to an awakening. Questioning with boldness does. Find out what you really truly believe. It's the only way you can have firm reliance on it. When the storms come up and your ship is being tossed, you gotta rely on something. Do you want it to be an invisible magic sky god that you think is there? Or do you want to have firm reliance? We will be fine. I choose to know so I can depend with firm reliance on God's protection. 2, realize your space. If you understand who God is, you will also understand you are one of His children. That has great benefit and unbelievable responsibility. If you find out who God truly is, I warn you, if you know who He is, it will be the biggest blessing in your life, but it will also be the biggest curse in your life, because on some things you will then no longer have a choice, because you know what is true, you know who you serve, and you must stand there because you have no other choice. Know who He is and know who you are. The next part of the phrase is, we mutually pledge to each other our lives. I've always read that as something the Vietnam vets did, the Korean vets did, or the vets that we honored today. It's not just that. Washington, I told you, gave up his life as he wanted it. He wanted to be a farmer, not a president. He wanted to be a surveyor, not a general. He gave up the life he wanted. If we do this right, we will each come to a point in our life, if we are going to change our country with lasting ramifications, we will each come to a point in our life where we are at the last string or thread and say, have I not yet done enough for my country? And then we will stand up again and get on our horse, because the answer is no. God is not done with you yet, and He is not done with man's freedom yet. With firm reliance on divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes. What does that mean? It means that there comes a time when one generation must sacrifice for the next. One generation must make the choice to do the right thing because it is the right thing, so our children can have a chance at a sliver of what we have grown up in, scars and all. This experiment is the only time man has lived a life like this. It's not a coincidence the world changed as the age of enlightenment happened and Americans set man free. It's not a coincidence. If we want it for our children and our grandchildren, we must pledge our lives and our fortunes. But we already know that instinctively. If anyone has ever had a child who is seriously ill, you know you have stood in that hospital and you have fallen to your knees and you have said, Lord, give it to me. Give it to me. Let them live. Let them have a shot. I'll take it on. That's who we must be today. We must take it on so our children can have a chance. We must be willing to trade places with our children. Our children will be slaves to a debt